All right, we're on the Brian there talking about how much peak you can attain, with just being grateful. So how else to start the show? We've just been grateful for a new day and a new week. So it's the conversation on your West Television Network, your digital first for African News Network. And it's another episode, the Monday edition of the conversation. My name is Adesu Alsui.
And I am Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sagir. How are you doing?
Very well.
So what do you think? What's your perception, of gratitude generally?
So I feel it's always a good thing to be grateful. I mean, that's the only way you react to good things happening, in your life. And like a wise person will always tell me, in whatever situation you find yourself, you need to be grateful.
Okay.
In the good times, give thanks. In the bad times, give thanks.
All right.
During the process of development, you also need to give thanks. So it's always very good to be grateful for everything you have here.
Okay, let's move away from that to, stories and development from across Africa. And we're starting with this very dauntingly sad news from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So Ugandan rebels burned and hacked to death 19 civilians in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, a local official said. 14 bodies were found on Saturday, a day after the incident by Red Cross workers who went into the nearby forest to look for those missing after the attack on Kasanzi village in the Beni territory of North Kivu. I'm wondering what state of mind a person can be in to just attack a village, and then not just attacking a village now, maybe like a reprisal attack or anything, but burning and hacking down civilians for no just cause. It's really appalling to see that.
Well, it's also unfortunate to see how over the last few months, after the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw what it did to us in the year 2020, how gradually African countries have been faced with one form of violent crime or violent attack or violent incident to the other. So it means we really need to step up, because truly, for one reason or the other, the COVID-19 has really impacted on us, and so I just pray that justice is meted on those who perpetrated the crime.
Yes.
All right. In Ethiopia, Tigray rebels have accused the African Union of bias following the appointment by the Nigerian former president Olusegun Obasanjo as a mediator in the conflict that has been tearing northern Ethiopia apart for nearly a year. It would be naive to think that mission could work, said on Twitter the spokesperson for the rebels, Getachew Reda, 3 days after the appointment of former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo as representative of the AU in the Horn of Africa, with the mission to promote peace, security, stability, and political dialogue.
Away from Ethiopia to Congo. So, Democratic Republic of Congo former Minister of Health, Eteni Lugongo, was placed under provisional arrest on Friday for alleged misappropriation of COVID-19 funds, prison and government sources said. The former Minister of Public Health, Dr. Eteni Lugongo, was questioned at length by the prosecutor at the Court of Cassation and placed under provisional arrest warrant this evening. I do not know if he's already in prison. A member of the government spoke anonymously in an interview.
Arrested over missing COVID-19 funds. Where does that remind me of? I can't remember. Anyways, finally, from 2022, Congo will take over rotating presidency of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, to succeed neighboring Angola. Mohamed Barkindo, the Secretary General of the oil cartel, was in the Central African country this week, where he met with the country's leaders.
Okay. All right. That's it for this segment of the conversation. That is the Development Across Africa segment. You know that we're going to be bringing you COVID-19 updates from across Africa. And I do not need to keep reiterating that you need to do your part to ensure that you and the next person is safe. So COVID-19 update from across Africa, after which we'll be moving over to the big story.
My son has always dreamt of being in the spotlight. As his mother, it is my duty to help him live up to his dream. That's why I give him Born Vita every day, which contains iron, zinc, and vitamin C that supports his immunity and gives him the strength to pursue his dreams. Born Vita, strength to dream.
Welcome back. You're still watching the conversation on your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. You could be a part of the conversation by connecting with us on our various social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TOS TV Network. You could also watch the conversation via our website at www.tostvnetwork.com, as well as watch a recap of the conversation, as well as other programs via our YouTube page at TOS TV Network. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It is the big story segment of the conversation, and this morning's focus is going to be on Osun at 30, the journey so far. Joining us this morning via telephone to discuss how far the state has come is the pioneer Secretary of the State Government and Head of Service to the Osun State Government, and he is Chief Moses Inaolaji Abuaba. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. You're welcome to the show. So, sir, first of all, I want to get your reaction. Osun State is 30 years today. How do you feel?
Well, I feel excited that the state is still existing. Also excited that the state was created 30 years ago. Though the dream of the forefathers might not have been fully developed or realized or achieved, but that at least that state still there as an entity is delightful. The state was created as a sort of agitation for lack of development, or what we call marginalization in the old Oyo and Western states. So the fact that God made it possible for us to realize it on 27th of August 1991 was a very great achievement.
All right. So, sir, I want to ask, in terms of development, both infrastructural and in the civil service, would you say the state has achieved all of the strides that it sought to achieve when the clamor for the creation of Osun State started?
It has not. Various governments have come and gone. I was part of the government that started it off and laid very good foundation for the incoming civilian government. We left there precisely on January 2, 1999, 1992. But the interesting thing is that the zeal, the patriotism, and the dedication and determination with which the government that started off the state worked, most unfortunately, didn't do it drastically after we left. Because within just 4 months, we were able to do what was necessary for the incoming civilian government to take off seamlessly, as it were. In fairness, throughout the Federation then, they were seeing us as almost leading the United States, which were created on 27th August in 1991. But nobody is blaming any government. Nobody is blaming any, but some citizens have to call it as it were, because the pace are different. But we thank God that we are still there, and the state, at least with the present government, even with the government that preceded it, have started to make some meaningful wave to the extent that they are now caring to put the necessities and basic infrastructures as well as meet the needs of the people. The civil service that we had that started it was a core and inheritance of the civil service of the old Western region, headed by late Simon Adebo. And I'm exceedingly proud of their contributions for the brief period that we were there together. But for the vicissitudes, like decapitation, like demotivation, like lack of training, which the civil service witnessed. Honestly, I believe that they will even have made greater strides that they have made. But it's not too bad. The government that we have there now, as it were, has human face. with little or no resources. The amount of development that is taking place there is even honestly surprising us. The civil servants are now being well paid, regularly paid. The pensioners are being paid. Even the government that is there now has implemented the minimum wage in spite of the paucity of funds, either from the federal allocation, which most states depend upon. But it's been wonderful. That at least we are pleased with the achievement that is on now. We need to be able to probably just forget the past and make sure that we urge the politicians that are in charge that they should put the interest of the development of the state more than their own personal interest. That's the only way to develop. Where personal interest is allowed and given preference over the development of the state will keep on being on the same spot or even worse than the time it was created. But we give glory to God. We can always improve and people do better than they are doing now.
All right. So I want to ask, talking about development, infrastructure, and staff training. Of course, you spoke earlier about paucity of funds being one of the hindrances to all of that. So it's been 30 years since the creation of Osun State. Would you say you're satisfied or disappointed at the fact that Osun State still depends, as well as other states that were created alongside Osun State, still depends on the federal government for budgetary allocation to carry out some of these key infrastructure programs, including training of staff for both schools and even the civil service up until this time?
Honestly, it's not that I'm satisfied at the pace of development. But the fault to me is not only that of those who are ruling the states. It emanates from the kind of federal structure that we are running in this country.
Okay.
In a true federal system, there are some jurisdictions that will fall for the state. Also, state, in terms of size and population, is even more than some other countries that are doing well internationally. So, and with the kind of resources, both human and material, that God has provided for the state, but there is what we call illogicality in the kind of federal system that we are working. If it had been the way it was when we were practicing regional government, I'm sure most of these states would have by far been able to do better. It was the military that made the mistake, and this mistake followed into the writing of the 1979 Constitution. Except we are ready to face the truth and actually practice true federation, there's no way states will not continue to depend on the federal. And that's why you see very many people agitating for restructuring, agitating for what they think will make the state to be able to tap the resources and use for themselves and just yield whatever they consider necessary to the federal. And I believe this is a critical thing if we all love to develop Nigeria. Don't mean deceive you. Those who founded Nigeria believe in unity and peace. And that was why we started as that three regional structure, where the West was making waves, the East was making waves, and the North was making waves.
Okay.
Things were not like this as at that.
Okay, so
you can make mistake, but it's better we discover a mistake and rectify it.
Okay.
This nation has a lot of potentials, and if we actually face the reality and do the restructuring that is required, not even necessarily imagine the state, but giving the state the powers that will make them to be able to function effectively. The situation where the federal has cornered all the critical powers and all along also the resources, it's not a thing that can stand us in good stead. So this should be thoroughly looked into and worked upon so that the state will be allowed to tap the resources in them for the benefit of the people.
Okay, so sir, do you feel that perhaps the states, if when they were not created, maybe we still were operating the regional system, would have passed through far better development in terms of infrastructure and all of these things that we discussed than we are seeing right now?
Yeah, I agree. If we were going the way we were going, but that was the area whereby no place was neglected.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the politicians we had that time were exceedingly patriotic. They care of the welfare of the people. And don't forget, I told you that, I'm sorry to say, the politicians we have now are not, to my mind, they don't actually, not all of them care for the interest of people. In fairness, we make politics now what you call business, whereby everybody wants to go there to corner whatever they think they can corner for their own selfish interest and for the interest of the people around them rather than for the people. During those times, all villages, particularly I was part of the civil service of the Old Western, I was clerical officer there. I know literally all the villages in the Old Western region felt the impact of what the then Awolowo government was doing. But it's not the case now. And the problem is, to my mind, not even the number of the states we have. The problem is in our politics and the kind of federal structure that we are working.
All right. Thank you so much, Chief Moses, for joining us on the conversation this morning. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And thank you to our viewers for joining us on the show this morning. We'll be back here same time tomorrow. But then you should follow TOS TV Network across all social media platforms. That's TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do not miss out on our programs. You can also stream the conversation and other programs on www.tostvnetwork.com. My name is Adesu Alsui.
And I am Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and we'll see you tomorrow.